What's going on, y'all? Just want to welcome you to the Smooth Future Foundation podcast, baby! Episode 1, this is your host, Ryan Chapperton. Future guests to come. This is going to be about my story, why I left school early, what I wish I knew. Again, I just want to thank anybody who's listening to this. I don't care if it's one kid. I just want to touch one life with my story. So whether you're a student, you're a parent, you're a teacher, or just somebody who happened to stumble across my Facebook page or my podcast, I genuinely appreciate you taking the time to listen. Before we get into today's episode, I want to explain why this foundation exists. Because most students, they don't just wake up one morning and decide, I hate school, I'm leaving school. Because that's not how it happened for me, and I know from other people that's not how they happen in their life. Life happens, stress builds, motivation disappears, and then you start hanging around people who don't really care. School starts to feel pointless, and then one day you're dropping out, you're getting your GED, or you're just taking an alternative path that feels like the easiest decision in the moment, because I've been there. That's exactly why I started this foundation. It's not a foundation built to call out people who are in the wrong or tell people why they shouldn't do things, or it's just here to make sure people are informed. Because I'm not going to sit here and tell people that their decisions are wrong, because I went down the non-traditional path and I'm in college right now. It's here because I believe students deserve honest conversations before they make life-changing decisions. If my story reaches one student, if it causes one person to stop and think, if one family has a conversation because of this podcast, then I would take every second I've spent building this and I would say it's worth it. So let's go to where it all started. So I grew up in Burleson, Texas, about 15 minutes south of Fort Worth. Around 7th grade, my dad accepted an assistant superintendent position in Boyd, Texas. Now, if you don't know where Boyd, Texas is, I don't blame you, because there's only like 1,300 people. But if you know where Decatur is, it's just south of Decatur, about 10 minutes. And if you don't know where Decatur is, I don't blame you either. It's a northwest of Fort Worth, about 45 minutes. But it's really small. I mean, really small. Like, coming from Burleson, where there was around 60,000 people, and then moving to a town where it's around 1,300, that felt like moving to another planet. And honestly, at first, I hated it. I missed my friends. I missed everything I knew. All my family was in Burleson. I thought there was absolutely nothing to do. And I remember asking my parents, like, why are we here, But then something funny kind of happened. Like, over time, Boyd became my home. People were genuine. Teachers knew your name. Friday night football, like, it wasn't just a game. The whole town showed up. Like, it was the community. I ended up falling in love with, I guess you would say, the little town. Like, looking back, I am so incredibly thankful that we moved to Boyd. Even all the trials it brought me, it changed my perspective on small towns to where now when I graduate college, I want to live in a small town. Now let's go to where things started changing for me. As I got older, I started hanging out with people who, honestly, they weren't making the best decisions. They weren't bad people, but they just didn't have goals in their life. They didn't have things they wanted to succeed in. And I'm not saying all my friends I hung out with were like that, but there were definitely more the ones who had influence on what I did in my life. And that's kind of where my mindset started changing. I didn't hate learning. Like, I liked learning about things, but I hated school. It just felt like busy work to me. And I know I can really relate to a lot of high school students, maybe not a lot, but a good amount of people who feel that high school in general or education in general When it's not directly correlated to what you are doing, you might feel that it's pointless or that it doesn't matter. And I 100% get where people are coming from, because that was me. I felt like it was memorizing information just to forget it about the test. And I remember sitting in my high school algebra class thinking, how is this going to help me in my future? Nobody ever connected school to real life for me. It wasn't like if you do this, this is what it does in your life. It was just, this is required, this is what you have to do. And maybe some teachers tried, like maybe I didn't listen, but I feel like it was a little bit of both. Like I felt disconnected. I felt that I was in this school and I was learning, but how is this learning going to help me as I get older? And I feel like once I got disconnected to the point where I hated it, it was really hard to get back into, hey, this school is helping you here, and this is why you should do it. During high school, I started a business, actually. And for a teenager, honestly, it did really well. Me and my best friend in high school, we did that during the summers, and then after school, things like that. That's what we did. And honestly, we made a good amount of money. But the thing for us is I don't think we fully grasp being adults. We didn't have bills. We didn't pay car. I paid for my gas. My mom gave me 1 tank a month. That's about it. So there wasn't that incentive or that reality of, hey, I got to go home and pay the mortgage, the insurance, the car, the kids. All that just wasn't there for me, so I never understood. And even though my parents said that, I never felt that connection, because it was like, what are you talking about? I just got paid for taking some junk out to the trash yard. Like, those are the type of things that I think are just so important that students or even some adults just don't understand the responsibility that comes along with being on your own and making money and things like that. And I just think that was a big thing for me. And I just felt like, why do I even need school, like, when I'm already making money? Like, I had 0 bills, 0 rent, 0 insurance, groceries, car, electric responsibilities. I felt rich. And it was funny because I was so broke in terms of knowledge. And I feel like nowadays knowledge outweighs everything. Real world experience and knowledge is really the key. So nobody had really explained that to me. And I feel like that was really the changing point for both of us. Like, those losses changed us. I feel like grief has a way of making everything feel less important. So in that time, it felt to me, how I felt was, this is about me now. School wasn't important. Planning for the future wasn't important. Like, I was just trying to get through each day. And eventually, my friend had decided that school wasn't for him anymore. And I had already kind of been on the path of thinking about it. And I was kind of in a life stage of rebellious attitude. And I just felt like what I wanted to do was more important than what anyone else wanted for me, because I'm the one that's been going through this, and I'm the one who's facing all these trials, when in reality, it was also my family members and other people around me who, because of my actions, were also going through trials, as well as the same things that they were going through that I was going through. And so he made that decision that he was done with school, and I wasn't far behind him. We had kind of done everything together, and I feel like with my grandmother passing, that was almost like a dump of water in the bucket. And when he made that decision, that was almost like my overflowing dump in the bucket, and I was done. And a few months later, I finished my alternative school, and it kind of felt like freedom at first. I was like, I'm done. High school's over. Athletics for me towards that first half of the semester of my senior year had kind of some things that happened that I wasn't very happy with and my family wasn't very happy with, but we can't change that. I can't go back in the past and change that. But some things that happened there and all of it kind of just built up. And once I finished that, it was almost like this stuff's over. Now I can just do whatever I want. But the funny thing was I thought it would be easier. But the funny thing is I couldn't have been more wrong. So what really hit me, not long after I finished my alternative school, I moved out, thought I could do everything on my own. And looking back, I think the reason I ended up moving out was because my household was very, not necessarily structured, but very in terms of, like, we are going to not tell you what to do, but this is how you live your life and be successful. And I felt like looking back on it now, that stuff was really important because I'm back in that household where we have parents who have been married for 30 plus years, and those types of things that really just help give me advice as I'm moving through life. I'm going through college. I'm experiencing more. I have more freedom, and I still have that structure and that guidance that a lot of people don't have. And I think I really underestimated how important that would be for me. But back to me moving out, suddenly everything changed. I had to pay for my phone, my rent, my groceries, my insurance, my gas, all that, the car, all that was mine. And those are responsibilities that I had never thought about before because I had almost took it for granted. But I realized really quickly how fast that stuff can go away. I got a job at A-Gas, which is a refrigerant company in Rome, Texas. And if you've never worked in any industrial labor, let me paint you the picture. It's January. It's about 25 degrees outside. My alarm goes off at 5 in the morning. I'm putting on 4 jackets just to try to stay warm. I'm driving to work while it's still pitch black outside. Clock in, work all day. Managers push deadlines. Supervisors expect more. You're exhausted. And finally, you're off around 5 in the evening. Drive home, eat dinner, go to sleep, wake up, do it all over again. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Every week. And what I'm trying to say is not necessarily that there's nothing wrong with hard work. There's nothing wrong with a blue-collar type of job or I work harder to earn more money. 100%. I agree with that. And I'm not looking down on any of the people that do that. This was me realizing that this is not the life that I want. And I remember standing there on one of the freezing mornings asking myself, is this really what I want to do for the next 50 years of my life? And that question in late February changed everything for me. So what I wish somebody had told me. After leaving school, I started reading more, listening more. I came across research that honestly surprised me. Researchers have found that people who earn an alternative degree, on average, are less likely to enroll in college, less likely to have a bachelor's degree, and often earn lower wages over time than students who graduate with a traditional diploma. Now, again, that doesn't mean that people with other degrees can't succeed. I'm proof that they can. There are thousands of people who are successful with alternative high school. This isn't something that I'm saying that guarantees that only one path is successful. It's about understanding the trade-offs. Because I didn't understand those trade-offs. I wish someone would have sat me down and said, Ryan, before you make this decision, here's everything that comes with it. That's the whole conversation that I want this foundation to have. That's the whole reason that I want this to be successful. Because I didn't have that. I didn't have that person who sat me down and said, hey, this is what can happen if you do this. My turning point was eventually God started working on my heart again. And even when I wasn't close to him, he never stopped being close to me. And that's the most beautiful thing about God. And I'm not going to try to get on here and try to preach to y'all or tell you what you don't already know. But he will not stop chasing you. You can be in the darkest pits, and he will be there. And my parents never gave up on me. Shout out Mom and Dad, Heidi and Chris. They never gave up on me. And it's just something that you look back on and you just think, like, why did you make these decisions? But now looking back on it, it's honestly just shows how much my parents love me. And I'd never be able to thank them enough. And then I met somebody else who completely changed. I dedicate 70% of this change in me to a man named Jace Reeves. And Jace, shout out to Jace Reeves. He's a law enforcement police officer in Decatur, Texas. Y'all ever need somebody to ride out with on Decatur, make sure you ask for Jace Reeves. But I had done some ride outs with him in law enforcement, and kind of growing up, I had thought, I like law enforcement, but at the same time, it was like, it's so dangerous. I don't know if I want to do this. But I kind of started hanging out with Jace and doing ride outs more, and I don't know, something just clicked for me. For the first time in years, like, I had purpose again. And not long after that, doors started opening that I never thought were possible. I kind of had a few friends that were going to Lubbock Christian University, had no clue about the school. Thought I would want to go to college, but didn't even know where to start. And I just said, let me look at LCU. And it's funny how God puts things in your life that you wouldn't even expect to ever use. I went to Lubbock Christian University because I knew one person. I knew two people, actually, from my youth group who were going to LCU, and I was like, you know what? I don't have anything to lose. I'm going to go try it. And now I'm a criminal justice major at LCU, and I absolutely love it. I have a whole group of friends. I'm connected with a bunch of people. I'm working on a cold case class in the fall where we're investigating a cold case homicide. My professors are some of my best friends. And I just can't thank God enough for that, how fortunate I am of things just working out the way they do. And as I'm recording this, I'm getting ready to begin my sophomore year. And like I mentioned earlier, I've met professors like Dr. Cyphers and Mr. Allen. They've invested in me in ways I can't even describe. I've had some opportunities that I would have never imagined those a few years ago. And honestly, I can't wait to get back to school. But I want y'all to think about that for a second. The kid who couldn't stand school now is begging to go back to school before we're even allowed to. I just want you to think about that for a minute and really think, no matter where you are, life can change, and it will change. As long as you press in with the Lord and you surround yourself with healthy people, your life will change for the better. So why does this foundation exist? Not because I have every answer, not because I think my story is more important than anyone else's. It's because somebody listening today is sitting exactly where I was. Maybe you're thinking about quitting. Maybe you're just frustrated. Or maybe you think school doesn't matter. Maybe you're making money right now and you think you'd never need a diploma. Maybe you're hurting. Maybe you lost someone. Maybe you're overwhelmed. I get it. I've lived it. But before you make one of the biggest decisions of your life, I got 5 things for you. Talk to somebody. Talk to your parents. Talk to a teacher. Talk to a coach. Or talk to someone who's lived on the other side of that decision. Ask questions. Understand the trade-offs. And then make the best decision for your life. Not an emotional one. I feel like it's very easy to make an emotional decision when we're in distress, when we're in hardship, when we're in things that we don't like. but I want you to make an informed one. And so kind of to wrap this up, I just want to leave y'all with this. If I could go back and sit across from the 17-year-old Ryan, I would yell at him. And I would tell him, 5 years from now, where do you want to be? Because the decisions we make today, they shape the opportunities that we have tomorrow. I want to thank y'all for listening to episode 1 of the Smooth Future Foundation podcast. If this story connected with you, I'd love for you to share it with somebody who might need to hear it. If you're a teacher, counselor, administrator, parent, or someone working in education, I'd love to have you on a future episode because this foundation isn't about one voice. It's about starting conversations that matter. And remember, a smooth future isn't built by perfect decisions. It's built by informed decisions. I'm Ryan. Thanks for listening. See you on the next episode, baby.